rear hatchback jet wash wiper motor and wiper arm on a Skoda Fabia MK1 99 to 2007. The rear jet wash wiper arm lays and rests at the bottom of the rear windscreen in a blacked out zone here, with a couple of markers to indicate its position. The motor itself is fixed to the top rear of the metal tailgate, hidden behind an inner trim panel, which we need to remove. If we lift up this cover, it hinges forward to reveal the motor's spindle and jet wash protruding through the glass. We can take the cover off by simply easing out the side tabs a bit on each side. Here's the little hinge knobbles. In the spindle centre of these, there's a tiny jet wash nozzle which simply pulls out with a pair of pliers. Like so. Not much force is needed and doesn't damage the end, but if you're worried about damage, then use a cloth around the jaws. The wiper base, spindle and nut are often corroded due to galvanic interaction between the opposing metals, and in this case a douse of penetrating fluid is needed. Leave that for a while. The nut is 13mm hex and I used a 1/4 inch wrench and socket. Take the nut off, holding on to the wiper arm at the same time. When the nut's off, you can douse a bit more. Rethread the nut a bit before attempting to waggle the arm loose by rocking it from side to side, but not too hard, as you've got to be mindful of the glass. Don't prise anything up against the glass. If it won't come off at all, then a puller is needed, like this one or similar, but you have to be careful of the central spindle to protect it from damage. So if you replace the nut and thread down until it just protrudes over the top, then you can place a small piece of metal in there between the puller and the head of the spindle, which will be pressing against the nut and not the spindle end, and it should be fine. I found that I had to adjust the puller arms to fit the wiper moulding, as one side is deeper than the other. Once fitted on, a little gentle tighten and it'll release. Like so. This one's not too bad, I've seen a lot worse than this. Some are so bad that you have to end up cutting them off, and then you need to buy a new wiper arm, of course. Clean that up a bit. Now we need to go to the inside of the tailgate and remove the inner panels. I'll just skip through this. If you want to know how to take these off in detail, I've done another video on this, and I'll leave a link at the end of the video and in the description. You can actually get away with just taking the main panel off. Disconnect the electrical connection and the water inlet jet. There are 3 large washer flange nuts holding the unit in place through rubber inserts held onto the body of the tailgate. Loosen and take those out. then it's a simple case of gently easing out the spindle through the bush in the rear window glass. Here's the rear wiper motor unit. This wiper motor is actually different to the one originally on the car, as I replaced the tailgate from a salvage yard. So I can't remember whether it's an older version or a newer version. But I do have the original wiper motor to compare it with. Maybe you guys can shed some light on whether it's older or newer. The main differences are that the one on the left that's in the car now is mainly made of plastic, which may be a newer variant, as my original one is more cast metal. But significantly, when I refit my original one in the tailgate glass that I have on the car, the spindle is too narrow. As you can see, I don't know whether the different models have different bushes or what. So it's something to bear in mind if you want to replace yours. There are 7 T15 bolts holding the back plate on. When I eventually get the back plate off, here's the inside with the large diameter cog driving a cam system. You might find that some of the teeth are missing, or it's jammed up on the motor's worm drive. So there might be a possibility of bringing it back to life if that's what you want to do. As a brand new OEM unit would be quite expensive. But there'll be lots of these available at salvage yards. Just be aware of that spindle and bush thing that I showed you, as you don't want to be renewing the whole tailgate just for a rear windscreen wiper. Refitting the motor, gently marry up the spindle on the motor into the bush in the windscreen and slowly push into place onto the 3 threaded spigots. And tighten up the nuts to the specified torque. Push in the electrical connection fully. And reattach the water jet inlet pipe. And I'm going to modify mine with some heat shrink sleeving and some little ties, using the shoulders on the connection to hold it all together. You don't want this leaking, as it tends to drip down onto the catch at the bottom and the switch connection. And as it's fixed behind the inner trim panel, that you've no idea if it's leaking or not until the tailgate catch or switch doesn't work. Refit the wiper arm in line with the marks on the bottom of the screen and push the moulding end firmly onto the spindle shaft. Refit the nut and tighten home to the correct torque. Align the little jet nozzle vertically and push firmly into place. Refit the plastic cap in the hinge position first, refitting one of the clips and then the other. Push down into place and then go and test the wiper blade and jet wash. When you're happy with everything's working fine, replace the inner plastic trim panel. And we're done. Job's a good one. Thank you for watching. Please like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.